RWA has been the best performing asset in August, and I think it will continue to outperform toward the end of the year. That's why I decided to make this RWA tier list again. I have made a few in the past, but obviously times has changed, the market has come down. A lot of these very, very solid projects are at massive discounts. So, there's a lot of adoption actually happening in RWA. You guys can see Security CEO Carlos Domingo says RWA tokenization is unavoidable. You already got companies like Goldman Sachs, BMY already launching tokenized money funds, and there's plenty of news that's come out like this, and that's why I think RWA will be the leading narrative this year. So starting with the tier list, I got these four projects on here in the not worth category, mainly because CGV has formed an alliance with three other projects, so their old token no longer exists. WeCoin, not much development. UBX, they've abandoned the project, decided to rebrand. Still, I don't like projects that rebrand. You should have just been developing, continuously. Your community wouldn't have left. Centrifuge, exact same thing. Their Twitter got hacked. They launched a meme coin or some sort of shit, and then they migrated and launched a new token. So that's these type of stuff is always a red flag. Starting with the first project on the list is Relio. I think Relio has a 20 to 30x potential. And that is because, with Relio, it is one of the most talked about altcoins on crypto Twitter. It's always in the top 10, which is always good. That means they got a massive community. And keep in mind, 75% of the supply is staked, and they're also burning Rio tokens as well. So it is getting very, very scarce. That's very, very good because when the market starts to fly, Relio is going to increase in price very, very fast. That's why I would put this in the 20x category. Ondo is the best high cap in the RWA space. However, it's not going to give you anything more than a 5 to 10x just because of the market cap. 5 to 10x is very, very realistic, but let's put in the 5x to be conservative. BST is a very low cap, fundamentally very strong, but one thing they lack is marketing. That's why I would only put this in the 10x category. Art Trade is one of the best on Solana in terms of RWA. They have a bunch of real world assets, luxury assets, gold, art in the name Art Trade as well. I think it will do very, very well. They have one of the best token utility in the space. Everything on the platform requires the token, which is why the token will continue to survive even in the next cycle. Team is solid. I will put this in the 20 to 30x category. Let's put in the 20x to be conservative. This did perform very well in December as well. Brickin, this has a market cap of around 12 to 13 million. However, the TVL is close to 40 million. That is very, very good for a project with a market cap of 12 to 13 million, but the TVL is more than double. So this is very, very impressive for this project. I think, moving forward, they have some big KOLs. The team is very, very solid. I will put this in the 20 to 30x category. I would put this in a 30x category. I think it will be one of the leading performers just because they're the main tokenizer for the BNB chain. StateX has everything: product, marketing, and team. They have some of the best backers, the likes of co-founder of USDT, Microsoft. I think this will be one of the leading performers. It is a brand new token, but it's been one of the best launches this year. That's why I think this can do a 30x. They have so many KOLs, and when the market heats up, RWA becomes the main narrative, everyone's going to be looking for the project that's being shielded the most, which I think StateX will definitely be amongst the top. So 30x plus for StateX is very, very possible. Cola, another solid RWA project on Solana, and this is backed by Toli, which is the co-founder of Solana as well. They have a working app, working product, and I think this can easily do a 20x, 10 to 20x for Cola. I think 20x is also possible, so I'll put in there. Clearpool, one of the best RWA projects in the space, in my opinion. I think this will do very, very well, anywhere between a 10 to 20x, just because the market cap is on the higher side, 100 million, close to 200 million. However, this can easily do a 10x, in my opinion. Between 10 to 20x is very, very realistic for Clearpool. Propbase, they've got very good community. It is in the top 10 most talked about altcoins on Twitter as well. That's always good. It means they got a massive community, and when the market heats up, like I said, the coins that get shielded the most would likely pump the most. That's why I have Rio, prop base doing anywhere between a 20 to 30x. And token utility wise as well, they've just launched their fourth asset, and people are buying the assets, which means people are investing using the token, which is obviously very, very good. Put this in the 20x category. Quidify, I think is very good. It's unique. It's like DeFi, RWA type of thing. I think I will put this in the 10 to 20x category. I'll put in the 10x just because, like I said, they don't really have the top level of marketing like Prop-Base, Rio, Stay, Texas, or Bricken, but they have, every single time the market has gotten bullish, Creedify has done very well. So GFI, I will put this in the not worth category. This is a project almost $100 million in market cap with only 8 to 10 million TVL, which is, I don't think that's really that impressive, considering this is a stable coin project. So it requires people to stake the tokens in order to earn some yield, which means no one's really using it. That's always a red flag. If no one's using it, there's less activity on chain. Your token's not really going to perform that well. HBAR, same thing. High cap, 5x most. I think this is Labs Group. I'll put this in the not worth category. I don't think this is a good investment. Leox is not too bad. They've recently burnt 20 to 30% of the supply, which is obviously very, very good. But one thing they do lack is marketing. However, when the narrative is hot, people will look around for anything that hasn't pumped yet. And I think because Leox is a low cap, they specialize in luxury items. I think this can easily do a 10x. Considering the market cap, it does not need a lot of liquidity to push it up. Landshare, I will put this in the not worth category. I do still think Landshare will pump just because they got a few KOLs, they got a few properties. However, this project's been around since 2022, 2023, and they've had the same 3 properties, for the last 2 to 3 years, however long they've been around. They've had the same 3 properties. They haven't got no new properties. That means no new developments. That's why I personally would not invest into this one. I think if you got all these projects over here, you just have to be very picky. There's no need for you to invest into all of these. Just pick the best ones. TokenFi, 10 to 20x. I think this will do very well, fundamentally strong. Mantra, definitely not in the not worth category. These guys had one of the most manipulated charts in the whole space. This was just non-stop climbing up despite market going down. This continued to pump. It was the most manipulated chart in crypto. They did not have a product. They had a big partnership with DMAC. However, with no product, they got over leveraged, and then you just seen a 90% drop in one day. I did short this. I made a decent amount of money on it, but in terms of investing into it now, I don't think it's worth. Maple, this has one of the highest TVLs in the RWA space. I think this is a cool 10x project, maybe a 5x, 10x. The market cap is close to $1 billion, but this is a very good project in my opinion. Parcel is fundamentally good. I think this is the old Parcel. Yeah, let's put this down here. This is the old symbol. This is the new symbol right here. Where is it gone? This one right here. This is the new symbol. So Parcel, although it has a bunch of properties and is fundamentally strong, it is on Solana as well. It has the best exchange listings with Coinbase, Binance. I don't know if they're on Binance, but they're definitely on Coinbase, which is obviously very, very good. However, there's no use for the token. It doesn't matter what properties they have. You don't need the token to interact with the chain, with the properties. So the token is just there for no reason. That's why I personally would not invest into this project. And there's no longevity in the token itself. If you don't need the token, the team will just, farm it, and it eventually will go down significantly. There's massive unlocks as well. That's why I definitely would not invest into it. However, I still can see Parcel with the exchanges they have, with the RWA narrative being hyped. This could easily do it at 5 to 10x. The market cap isn't obviously on the low side, but a 10x for this is not out of the cards. Pendle, 5 to 10x, I think is already done his big numbers already, but it's still a very good project. NXRA, this has been hacked like 2 to 3 times already now. Definitely would not invest into this. This is another project that's pretty much dead. This Polytrade, I think Polytrade can pull from this current point on. This has taken a massive hit. I think Polytrade is a safe 10 to 20x investment. They've still got a MasterCard partnership. But like I said, I would invest these over Polytrade. But Polytrade is a good trade. Like when the narrative heats up, you don't have to. You can hold these long term or some of these, but you can also trade projects as well because when the narrative heats up, everything pumps in the narrative. Proppy, Proppy is a very good long term play. 10 to 20x is definitely on the cards. This is the leading in the real estate. It's very similar to Parcel, but I think Proppy is going to outlive Parcel in my opinion. Soil, same thing. I think Soil. I don't know if you guys can see the symbol is dark. I would put this in the 10x category, 5 to 10x. I think it can pump. It's very low in market cap. Prop chain, one of the things with prop chain is solid, but they don't have no KOLs. There's no one really talks about prop chain. So I will put this in a 5 to 10x. I think is a very slow moving coin. Even during the last RWA hype in 2024, this done 5 to 6x. So I'll put this I'll put it in the 10x because it's very low in market cap. RWA wasn't as established in 2024 as it is now. 10x is possible, but like I said, they lack the KOL, the marketing. StrikeX, 5x. There's a lot of new project that's coming out with very similar narrative. I would invest into other ones. SMT, I think a 10x for SMT is possible. They have the right narrative in the RWA space, tokenized, stocks, but they lack marketing. But like I said, this performed really well initially. I bought this in 2022 during the FTX crash, and I got close to 100. Well, I got 100x on it, just over 100x. So, I don't really hold it anymore, but I still think SMT can do well. It's one of those that everyone in the space knows about. And when RWA heats up, I think it will be one of the first that pumps as well. Truth, I don't really think Truth is worth, but 10x, 5 to 10x is possible for this project. LCX, another very good project. Obviously, it's an exchange, but it is regulated, which is obviously very good. This is a 10x project. This is Truthflation, I think. Put this in a not worth. I don't really think it's worth investing into Truthflation. The data is a bit mixed. I just don't think it's worth investing into it, to be honest. It is backed by Coinbase, but there's plenty of projects that get backed by Coinbase and still die. So that's not really anything to be. M0 dead. TRWA, this is a brand new project that launched recently. I think this can easily pull a 10x. It is almost $100 million in market cap, if not 100 million. However, they have the big KOLs, the likes of, Crypto John God, Crypto Alex Becker. These are the type of guys that can pump a token. So if you are invested into this, it has done very well. I put a trade on this recently. I made a 3x on it. I still think it'll do very well. They got some ties in the UAE, which is obviously very good. Allo is very similar to SMT, similar to Strike. They have an app. It's on Base, which is obviously very good. I think this can do a 10x. I think the vesting isn't that bad either. HTX is a very, very low cap project. It did run very well recently. I mean, last year in 2024, it did about a 10x, and I did call this. So I held this. I made a 10x on it. I think moving forward, they do have a decent community, and there's quite a few shillers shilling this. If they can get a one or two exchange listings, I think this can do very well. I wouldn't be surprised if it does another 10 to 20x just because of how low the market cap is. Like I said, it needs, if he wants to push for the 20x, it needs a bit more liquidity and a bit, one or two exchange listings, maybe a Mexi or Gate or something. LBM Libertum is an overall solid project. They clearly have a working product. Team is obviously working, but there's always been an issue with the tokenomics. I did used to hold this once upon a time. I'd sold it after making a double. But the only issue is the tokenomics is not true. So if you go on Crypto Rank, it'll tell you the unlocks are very, very minimal. However, when you speak to the team, there's a lot of tokens that's going to be released in circulation, but the data is not on Crypto Rank or anywhere. You have to specifically speak to the team. So because of that, I still think it will do a 10x just because of how low the market cap is, but it's a very risky one. The team can literally sell 50% of the supply anytime they want, realistically. So, but they are docked, so obviously they will be how reliable. That's one of the reasons I think it can still do a 10 to 20x. It's very, very low in market cap. RWA Inc. This is like the oracle of the RWA space. It gives you all the data on all the RWA projects, and I think it can easily do a 10 to 20x. I think this is a fundamentally strong project. One of the things they lacked, or one of the issues they had, and then this is a lot of issues on the base network, is that the vesting for most of these base coins are terrible. They have a lot of early investors. They get unlocked regularly, and it kind of kills the token price. But I think this is coming towards the mid, towards the late of the token unlock. So eventually it will end. But recently it didn't do too. I mean, it has been performing fairly well recently, and I think a 10 to 20x is on the cards for this one. Chin Tai, I think this has quite a lot of shillers. Alex Becker shields it, a few other big influencers shields it as well, but hasn't been performing the best. They have a lot of these institutional, coming and joining the network to tokenize. I have not seen any proof of this. I just have a weird feeling about this project. So I've personally have stayed away from it, but it does have the potential to do a 5 to 10x. It's a mid cap, it's not a low cap, but they have the KOLs. As long as the team don't rug pull, it will definitely pump in the RWA season. I'll put in the 5 to 10x category. I don't think it's going to do anything more than a 10x. 5 to 10x is very realistic. Lumia is one of those projects that has good social engagement, has the listings as well. It is on Binance, which is obviously very, very good. I think Lumia is a cool 10 to 20x project. I think it has all the fundamentals. The only thing it lacks is on-chain usage. No one really uses Lumia, but this is crypto. As long as you can create hype, as long as you have the exchanges and then a few KOLs pushing it, it will pump anyway. So Pink Link, I think Pink Link is a safe 10x. Quite a lot of people talk about it. The big influencers talk about it. I think when RWA heats up, this is going to be one of those that will definitely want to be the leading ones that pump. Stowbox, I think this could potentially pull a 20x. Is a micro cap around $3 to $5 million in market cap. If any of these low caps that will push for 20x, I think it's going to be Stowbox. HTX could do it, but like I said, it needs a few listings. Stowbox does have those listings. So if you're going to bet on a very, very low cap RWA coin, put in whatever you can afford to lose type of thing, I think Stowbox is not a bad one. Plume is a 10x. They did recently just get listed on Binance, but the co-founder did pass away, so RIP to him. It did kind of stumble the community on that news, but they're still working, they're still developing. The only issue with Plume is that it has some very, very heavy unlocks, which is obviously always going to be an issue. If you have 10 to 20% of the supply be unlocked every month, the token is not really going to go anywhere. So as long as the unlocks kind of slow down, which I don't think they are anytime soon, that's why one of the reasons I have not invested into this project, even though it's a very, very strong project, big listings as well. They are backed by Binance Labs as well. But like I said, if the unlocks are harsh, the token will always stay suppressed until the narrative comes. So the narrative is not here at the moment. When it does come, I think Plume will still pump. ZCBN. I think this will do a 10x as well. This has already performed very, very well. They have not got the big listings just yet. I think they will get them at some point. I think they could get Binance by the end of the year. It is like $500-600 million more. I'll put this in the 5x category. It's already done very, very well. It's up 6 to 7x, another 5x. All the people that bought in early, they're going to be up huge. And then when they sell, the price is going to be suppressed. Chainlink, obviously a 5x. This is one of the best projects in the crypto space, and I think it has the potential to do a 5x. Anything more than that is unrealistic for Chainlink. SFI is one of those, it's $3 million in market cap. If you want to bet on something very similar to Pinlink, the concept of AI and RWA, SFI is not a bad bet. Put in whatever you can afford to lose. Is a micro cap. It is backed by the SFI Alliance, AGIX. So the founder or the CEO of AGIX is an advisor or a team member in SFI. So Ben Goetzel is a team member in this. This is an alliance between SDAO, CGV, the one that I'll put over here, and then another project. I forgot what another project was, but it's a big alliance. They specialize in tokenizing AI and DePIN. So, if that narrative comes around, if Pinlink does really well, this will be, the alternative version of Pinglink. So 10 to 20x is definitely possible. The market cap it has, I think a 10x is possible. If they can do some good marketing, which obviously they got the funds. SFI is a massive coin, AGIX, CEO. They got plenty of funds to market this. So on that note, guys, appreciate you guys for watching this RWA tier list. Drop a like, subscribe. I will be releasing a gaming one next.